tell us who you are. Tell us about you a little bit and where you're from.
Hi. So I'm a mother. I have a almost 7-year old son and 1.5-year-old daughter. Right now we are actually traveling here from India. We are originally from India, um, and we came here to get some chiropractic care for my 7-year old son.
And what about this type of chiropractic care or this type of natural health care were you looking into? How do you even find it?
So there's a I should probably start with this. My son was diagnosed with autism and ADHD, and when I started to dig into the different care options and treatment options, I came across this podcast called Autism Parenting Secrets. It's a very useful resource, and they basically interview a lot of different people, uh, both parents as well as care providers who have successfully managed or helped people on the spectrum. And that's how I came to know about neurological chiropractic as a modality of treatment or modality of care. And when we started to look more into it, and kind of started to search for practitioners in the areas that we could visit or come and get care, that's when I found out about Revolution Chiropractic. I looked up a lot of the Google reviews, your Instagram account, and it seemed like you had good experience with helping kids on the spectrum, and that's how we are here today.
That's awesome. It's crazy how you just start researching or start looking, just leads you to the next thing, leads you to the next thing. It's crazy. That's really cool. So tell us about your son's adjustments and his care so far, and what kind of changes you've seen, if any.
So I think we've been just a few days over 2 weeks into this program. And maybe it's worth mentioning that I think for our son, since we were visiting, Dr. Jason did the care a little differently, where we were doing 2 sessions per day and more like an intensive, which may not be standard for someone who's in the area, and you can spread it out. But we did like the inside scans before and after 2 weeks, and the scans show considerable difference. Uh, my son had, among all the other issues, he had a major issue with sleep. We had to supplement with melatonin and a bunch of other things just to get him to calm down enough to sleep. And ever since we started care, I can say that I haven't had to use any supplements or any melatonin or anything to get him to bed. He kind of naturally falls asleep, which is a big win for us. Starting to see small improvements in his focus when I'm doing one-on-one activities for him. And again, it's worth mentioning it's only been 2 weeks into the care, and this is a long journey. It's so not coming here to expect in 2 weeks he'll be a changed person, but a lot of other small wins like better focus, better interaction in one-on-one settings is the improvements that we've started to see, and the sleep that I mentioned.
That's really cool. And like you said, you're not coming here, you're not expecting everything to be magically cured in 2 weeks, but we're just getting everything started and making some changes in that nervous system. Uh, can you repeat what you found after his first and second adjustments about his sleep? 'Cause I remember you had mentioned it, it's sleep, and then we asked about, oh well, did you notice anything after this? And you said, oh my goodness, he's
Yeah. So previously, this is how a typical bedtime routine for him would be. We would do all the bedtime routine, turn off the lights, we'll be in the bed by 8:45, 9, and he would be tired by the time. Like physically, he's tired, he's ready to sleep, but he wouldn't be able to go to sleep. He would keep tossing, and as the night progresses, he'll start kicking us around. He will start scratching me because he's actually tired and he wants to sleep and he's just not able to. And like if I am not using any supplements or melatonin or any other thing, he would probably fall asleep by 10:30, 11 after a lot of kicking around, which is hard for him and it's hard for us also because we're also tired, and you don't want to be scratched on your face. But I think the miraculous thing for me was that we turned off the light and he's laying down. Actually, the first day of care, he just came on the couch. It was I think 7:38, and he just laid down on the couch and he passed out. He didn't even stay awake for dinner. So I'm like, okay. And the days after, it's been like he lies down 9:15. He will talk to me, have some conversation, have some questions. 9:30, 9:45, he's asleep like a normal child. Like so, that was refreshing.
Probably a weird change, but what the heck is going on? Okay.
Yes.
And so after you did see some of the changes, you actually asked about starting care. So we
Yes.
got you under care. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think I started care about a week later than my son, or a few days later. Again, doing the intensive style. When I wanted to get the scans, I just thought, hey, nothing's really wrong with me. But, I'll just give it a shot. But I think when they did the assessment, it was clear that at least the nervous system was under a lot of stress. Again, I don't know a lot of the specific terms for that, but um, so it was obvious that I could benefit from the care, and I thought, okay, I'll give it a shot. And really, that was like the aha moment for me, when after 2 or 3 sessions, I could feel like a very big load lifted off. And I think the funny thing is, you don't realize it until it's lifted off. Like, you don't realize that you're carrying it until it's off. And I'm like, okay, this feels different. And the narrative in my head started to change on its own. I'm just starting to get this feeling all the time that I don't need to be as stressed as I was before, and a bunch of other things. So yes, it has been, because I can personally experience it, and maybe as adults we are also more perceptible to it. So maybe my son is also feeling these changes, but it's hard for him to express. But I can feel these nuanced differences, and that's making a huge difference in the choices I make for the kind of food I want to eat, the kind of lifestyle I want to have, because I'm just not like running like crazy anymore.
Yeah, that's so true. When that stress, when you feel that lift off, decisions become a little bit easier, or it seems like you have a more clear mind, and the decisions that you make on a daily basis just don't seem so rushed or forced or stressed all the time. You did tell me one thing, and if you don't mind sharing, you have a routine at night as far as meditation goes.
Yes.
You mind sharing that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is where it made a lot of sense what Dr. Jason had, or you had explained to me, is that once we fix the nervous system, everything else that we are doing just works better. And I had been meditating for a couple of years as a part of my bedtime routine, mostly to relax myself before going to bed. And it was working fine. It used to help me. Mostly I would like sit for 45 minutes to an hour, and I would have probably like 30 seconds to a minute where I actually reach like a really calm state, or alpha state or whatever. But after a couple of days of adjustment, with nothing else changed in my life, when I sat in the night for my meditation, I was almost able to go. It was much easier to go into that calm state, and from that 1 minute, it was almost stretched to like 30 minutes without any new effort, which was like, okay, this is it's almost like my body is now ready to relax. Like, I'm giving all these suggestions before, but now it's like, okay, bring it on. I'm ready to relax. So yes, that was a very big one.
Bring it on. I love it. I think anything else you want to share? That was kind of all of the questions that we were thinking about just asking, and that seems like a great experience. 1 out of 1,000. What would you recommend for trying some type of neurotonal, neuro-based chiropractic care?
I absolutely recommend this. And I think the most important mindset shift to try something like this is that a lot of times, because we are like in traditional medicine, you would get a medication and the effects are immediate, right? And we kind of come with that mindset in anything that's more holistic. We're like, hey, we do a couple of sessions, nothing's changed, and we give up on that. And I think that's something to shift a little bit, and at least give it a few months, because the changes that come in will probably be worth it, and it's kind of changing your track for life. Seems like a very small adjustment, but it's gonna in the long term actually set you on a very different path. So I absolutely recommend this to anyone looking. Actually, I also got my mom in for an assessment, and it all comes back to the same thing. Like, we all think that we are doing great because we are surviving, but there is a long gap between surviving and thriving. So just absolutely, we owe it to ourselves to be in that optimal state, which is much higher. Our body is capable of much higher things than what we have even started to explore.
Absolutely. We've talked before even that the body was created amazing. can do amazing, amazing things, but all too often we get stuck and bogged down and stressed out. Then all those things we're experiencing, or the stressors or the symptoms, they become common. They're not normal, but we get
Right.
told that they're not normal. We just experiencing this so often that they become common, and we just go, well, that's just my life.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this and just share some of your experience.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this work.